pod is launched. I don't know why my GDI file is saying I have 4 subscribers, but my Twitch dashboard says I have 3 subscribers. Not sure why it would be out of sync. I don't know what that GDI file is connecting to. Well, it's connecting to Streamlabs. Let's go to my Streamlabs analytics. Maybe? Carmina, that's... Come on, Meow. Okay, let's go to subscriber history. So this month, my subs are Zombie Potato and my friend Matt.
Rose tinted glasses.
Rose tinted glasses.
Oh, I know why it says I have 4 subscribers. It's counting me as a subscriber. I have 3 actual subscribers plus myself. Interesting. You're automatically sub to yourself with a tier 3.
Alright, I'm here.
assuming you want to play Warzone.
Yeah, what else would we play?
Well, I was not in the Warzone lobby there. Okay, now I need to come up with a clever stream title.
Oh boy, it's gotta be clever or people won't click.
Yep. That's what I gotta do. I gotta get them clicks. Or we can just go generic. I don't know. Carmine will probably think of something.
They're shooting off fireworks in my neighborhood, and my dog, like, won't go anywhere except for my lap, dude. I don't know if I can aim.
You gotta put it in its cage so you can play.
It's like a 50-pound dog.
Warm up while you can.
Hello?
Deploy soon.
You don't fit on a lap.
What a baby.
No, she's scared of fireworks, so she won't go anywhere. Except for either behind my computer or on me.
Ooh, on you.
Yeah, she's like on my shit right now. Like,
Ooh, she's on your shit right now.
I'm trying to like aim and move.
What's her butthole like?
Ew. I don't know.
Alright, Cookies. It's a bit more explicit.
She-
than I was
Dropping
thinking.
into the
I did
AO.
not know your dog's butthole was
What?
I
What are you
don't
talking
know why
about?
I'm being asked that question.
Okay, how's it
Enemy
smell?
dropping into the
Yeah,
AO.
How
no.
does it smell?
She's like all over the place. Get
Is
off.
there heat
Put-
coming
Enough,
out of
mate.
it?
Now
go
we
to your
face the
little
enemy
bed
for
thing
real.
that I bought you.
Fuck?
That thing was $60. Go sleep in your bed.
You bought your dog a $60 bed.
Yes.
Dogs don't sleep in dog beds.
Like a nice shit in it.
Battle Royale. Avoid the gas. Get to the safe zone.
Where should we go? Where should we go?
Where do you wanna go, boys?
Boom.
Can anyone use it?
Hills?
How about we go south of the bone zone?
Is there a scat?
Yes, there is.
Okay. Oh, over there. Okay.
Some dude is shooting it. Oh, I'm on the verge of dying. Dude. I need to. Yeah, I'm dead. I'm dead.
What
Two
the
people came
fuck?
assassinated. Two of them pulled their shoots to assassinate.
Your teammate was sent to the gulag. They'll fight for a chance to redeploy.
I'm making. Stop.
Targets are up. Get to work.
Nazis?
What do I do? In the
Supply cache
middle of the
identified.
fucking.
Marking location now.
Let's go.
Right, that's
Did you guys see that? What was the zombie?
Your
Nazi
teammate
thing
lost
on
the
Oh,
fight.
okay.
Now
That
you
was a
return to
real
base.
fun game that I just played.
Contract
You guys are
updated.
gonna rest.
New objective identified.
I'm gonna start watching these videos again. It's fucking dumb.
We're gonna hit up that most wanted here in a second.
Overlord?
Yeah, just poke me when you're about to.
Overlord, yeah. Have you seen Overlord?
I have.
I thought Overlord was really good.
It's pretty good.
That's pretty good, yeah. For not being.
People are here
really
killing
good.
development. So.
It was really good, actually. Let me watch that again. You gotta watch the snow.
Contract updated.
watch
New
the-
objective identified.
Watch the series.
No, I fell through the earth.
Ross, I'm running to the west, buddy. I don't know. Are you fighting?
I was.
Okay,
All
I'm getting
supply boxes
schmeckles.
found.
We can.
Solid work.
We have fucking 15k. Let's go buy
Go
these.
Resident.
Look at this riot shield. Uh-oh. Yeah, if I can just get some here, I can get him up. Ping this dude, he's fucking deafened. Someone ping him right now, I'm buying him in.
You're gonna do it down there?
There's a buy station 2 feet away from me.
Alright.
But
Mark
I'm
on
gonna
the
ping
grid.
him.
Let's go.
I poked him.
Man, it would have been nice to have it
Gas is
a
inbound.
little bit sooner.
I didn't even shoot anyone, I went straight to the scout for cash.
No,
I got
mean,
spotted.
If you poked me a little bit.
I got
You guys
spotted
loot all
again.
these buildings?
I did not. I went
Spotted.
No,
straight
we
to the
haven't
scout.
been. We haven't looted them
Uh-oh.
hardly at all. There's an M13 right here.
They spotted me.
Ooh, oof, oof. Yeah, I'm taking it.
Are there any stairs?
Come, we move to the safe zone.
There's that purple sniper here.
Sniper rifle here.
It's a car, actually.
What? Do you have it? I'll use my cowboy gun.
Take it.
I'll take that.
Did you loot all these buildings already, though?
I didn't touch any.
Those like two right there.
Yeah, Carmina. Have you ever seen Overlord?
SMG.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
Body
Overlord
armor
is a very good movie.
Body armor here.
Ooh.
Really good. I was thoroughly impressed.
Dude, Ross is finding so much good
Hey,
loot.
I'll take
Like,
I know.
screw these other buildings. I'm gonna go just follow Ross around.
You like kill a boss in there? What the fuck? All these legendary shit. What is this? Like,
Great. Plates. I'm gonna go get that purple sniper. Man, Ross out here living the good life.
we can
Was it on the
buy-
second floor, Ross?
Let's buy a loadout.
First floor,
SMG.
right side.
Ross, we'll buy a
Okay, I see
loadout.
it.
Mega.
Ross has 10 grand?
Look at this. Look at fucking
Man.
Daddy Warbucks over here, dude.
Friendly drop back on the way.
Okay, well. See what happens.
What happened?
Enemy team is hunting you. Stay alert.
Oh boy. Ross, you big poopy
I'm
head.
going up in this house to get that harpy.
I'm gonna buy plates. FYI.
Oh no!
Yeah!
Run!
Yeah, the circle doesn't look. Actually, it is a little fat. And we are on the fattest side of the circle, actually.
I think we're gonna make it. I think we're
You're
gonna.
gonna die. And get shot. Okay, we're dead. We're dead.
His armor.
running right next to you guys. Can you tell me why he shot at me? Can anyone explain that? Why does that always happen? I think I should
Your
start
teammate
keeping
has
track
entered the
because
gulag.
I think
Surviving
it's
earns
always
them
a thing.
redeployment. Your teammate is deployed.
Okay, whatever. You know, poke me when you go. We're gonna
I'm shot.
You're in the gulag now. Fight to earn redeployment.
Them did. So this is
The fight begins. You're up next. Get ready. Win this fight and you return to the front line. But if you lose, you're done. Earn your way out. You showed them no mercy. Stand by for redeployment. Proceed to the marked location and secure the area. We lost that one. We'll come back strong next time.
Head down his buddy though, with a deagle.
it's really if this is a lab leak. Still not saying it is, but that's a small possibility. If this is a lab leak, the failure is one of the international scientific community.
In this particular lab, didn't they get admonished for something that happened within like the last 2 years? They had gotten safety violations.
Yes, and there was a 2015 paper concerned about gain-of-function research and the potential for exactly this sort of thing to happen. So anyway, there was concern, but like so many things, I think it hovers outside of most of our awareness. So we discover, after the Deepwater Horizon accident, we discover that we're drilling these really deep deposits that we can't plug a leak when it happens. After the financial crisis, we discover that we're using leverage in a way that can cause one of these catastrophic economic meltdowns. The Aliso Canyon disaster reveals that we're storing, natural gas in these old oil deposits and that it can leak and not be plugged. Fukushima reveals to us what we've been doing with nuclear reactors and spent fuel. We always find out after the accident that we're engaged in some really dangerous thing. Now, people inside these industries know, but they also have a conflict of interest. So nobody warned us, right? And we need to really get ahead of that problem. We need to start finding out what it is that we don't realize humanity is doing that's going to go bad on us next.
Right. Okay, back to the mice.
Okay. So I was a graduate student studying bats I was in Michigan. And I was interested in evolutionary trade-offs. That's my signature thing. And there was a very good piece of work from a guy I knew, George Williams, great evolutionary biologist, about the evolution of senescence, that is to say, the process by which we grow feeble and inefficient with age, what most people call aging. And basically, this classic paper explained why it is that creatures like us get old and die.
Deployment.
And the answer was basically this, that you have a genome that's complex. It's full of genes, but there aren't enough genes to have a gene for every trait that you have. In fact, they're a tiny fraction of the number of genes you would need to cover all of the various characteristics you have. So genes always do multiple things. And in the case when a gene does something that's very good for you when you're young, at some cost when you're old, selection tends to favor it because you may not live long enough to suffer the cost. And so if you have the trait that makes you powerful when you're young, and you've got some cost that you're going to pay when you're old, but you're not going to live to get it, it may be a freebie, right? So selection sees early life much more clearly than it sees late life, and it prefers things that help you early, even at a cost of harming you late. That's the basic answer. It's called the antagonistic pleiotropy theory of senescence. But at the point that I started working, we knew that this was right. We could tell that the hypothesis was true because it matched all sorts of observations about wild creatures. Certain creatures live longer than others, even when you correct for things like body size. So creatures that fly live longer than creatures that are of the same type and size that don't fly. Why? Because they can fly away from danger. If you can fly away from danger, you're more likely to make it to an older age. The better selection can see the harms that afflict you when you get there. So selection doesn't prefer a bias in favor of youth if you can fly away from danger. Same thing applies if you're poisonous, if you have a shell. If you have a really good defense, then selection sees your late life better. Okay? So we knew that this hypothesis was right. But what we had never found at the point that I was working in the very late 90s on this was a gene that
Supply cache marked. Secure the package. Enemy soldier incoming. Eliminate all targets. Go.
Fuck. They're here. There's a squad inside the scav house. Fuck. I don't want to lose this. Fucking gonna be a bunch of people in here.
You don't have to get it right now.
Getting it, I don't care.
Contract updated. New objective identified.
You fighting people, Ross?
Yep.
Oh.
Don't see him. I don't see him.
That's a team right there, this guy.
Your teammate is in the gulag now. If they survive, they redeploy.
I think I'm gonna have to climb the tower to get this next fucking guy right there,
Teammate has
Ross.
been cleared for redeployment.
And on me! Come on! What the fuck?
Your teammate is in the gulag now. If they survive, they redeploy.
What the fuck is this, man? His teammate's crab walking in the fucking building that I had just looted?
This is the gulag. Survive and you can redeploy.
we knew that selection was finding these genes and accumulating them, but we had never found one of the genes in question, and that was
It is over. Earn your way out.
Oh my god.
I'm just going to Orange Ping. No idea if there's anyone there. I have no idea if there's any scav contracts there. No idea. That's just where I'm going.
There's houses red on the pig color.
If you can do white font with a black outline, that'd probably be the best.
Can't do outline either. That's all from StreamLab. It's all boxed. I can customize the bar color, the text color, the bar background color, but I can't do outline. After you're done there, come up here and we can buy Killtuck's back. Oh gosh, we gotta run!
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, you gotta get that Jeep.
So I'm going.
Light vehicle. Over here.
I'll drive. Let's move. Contract. It's over.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, this was looted. Are you kidding me? Are you here, Killtucks?
Yeah, okay.
I'll drive. Let's move.
Is that real? Have a
All right,
pistol.
along.
Try going.
Light vehicle. Over here.
Maybe that's out of the way enough. It wasn't looted.
Yeah, some of us. Wait not. Hold up.
I don't know how to use HTML to add an output text output.
Look it up. Yeah,
Got the
we'll
drop back inbound.
throw it on Facebook.
You wanna go to loadout?
Yeah.
Gas is moving in. New safe
Get
zone
up,
located.
Get up. It's about to be blown up. 2 boxes. I got overkill. I think it goes. Oh!
I just got shot.
Trucker's armor. He was right by the truck.
The enemy took that one. Good job.
I don't understand. I don't think I missed a shot there. Look, I can't even clip. Well, how did I not clip? My clips are always broken, dude. I get these stupid clip underscore missing paste when I paste them into the browser. Carmina, it's literally like It's like one line. Do you need Pastebin for that?
Here you go, Ross.
What's the HTML? I didn't know you needed the HTML if you had the CSS. The class name.
I'll be back. 1 sec.
Check your gear and weapons. We go soon. Enemy soldier incoming.
Let me know if I did this wrong. I've never used this site before.
Enemy soldier incoming.
Check out this gangster skin for the Odin.
Enough training. Now we face the enemy for real.
Does that stuff make sense coming up?
Battle Royale. You've got gas closing in fast. Get to the safe zone.
No, seems like you're missing some stuff. Whoa, where did my frames go? Hello?
You want to go there. Just there. I saw a place.
My frames are gone.
I was alt tab. Do that.
Let's go over there.
From disk if you need it.
Oh, you guys jumped.
Yeah, going over to the other side.
Yeah, for some reason, I'm getting frame rate drops.
I get random frame drops too.
It's never happened to me.
It just happens to me. He'll drop like 40 or 50 frames. I don't know. I don't really.
Playable, I don't know.
Supply cache located. Move to secure. You're clear to engage all targets.
Alright, some of my frames are back, I think. Frames are gone?
Where'd they go?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Contract updated. New objective identified.
Oh, this is kind of unplayable, man. What did I do? It's different. I alt tab. Now my frames are gone.
It's because you played in full screen windowed. Or,
No, I play full screen.
that's what I mean. Full screen. If you played in full screen windowed, it would be like that all the time. You wouldn't have those weird funkinesses.
Yeah, just be bad all the time.
That's why I play in full screen.
Be advised, enemy team is
Bad all the
tracking your
time?
location.
I don't know how to get to the roof, dude.
What
There's no way
is
to.
this, man?
Oh, here it is.
Tell me why.
Next objective located.
Tell me why. Ain't nothing but a heartache.
Someone did that at karaoke last night.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty funny.
Tell me
drunk.
why I don't want us to feel this way.
Steel Panther does a great cover of that, actually.
I want to tell.
Man, this is bad. Tell me why. The one game where we land and it's not a hot drop, I get frame drops. Like, what the fuck?
Just gotta warm up.
What is this bullshit,
Primary
man?
objective accomplished. All supply boxes found.
I need to restart my game. I wish there was a reconnect option. I really do.
Hey, we can buy, look.
He's dropping on us. Bet you I'm gonna start shooting my gun
Gas is closing in.
and I'm gonna get 0 frames. You're watching a
Go
I
on.
power.
dropped on
The
the,
laser.
like the hill area, maybe the fort.
Mark on the grid. Never mind. Disregard.
Downed a guy.
Another out back here.
But they jumped out of the fucking house low. They were in the house.
This is the Gulag. Survive and you can
Dude,
redeploy.
I feel bad for Ross. You know, if I
Now's a
wasn't
fight.
dropping frames, Ross wouldn't have gotten
You can
dropped.
taunt the enemy while you're waiting.
I haven't seen
Words
that
are
ball. How the
effective.
fuck did you die?
Rocks work better.
The team that we're fighting.
What?
I killed 2, and I don't know where the last
Was
guy
very
is.
They're in my house. I
called that
pushed
the
the house.
missing
I didn't see
pleiotropy.
one person. Then
So,
I guess they jumped out.
Anyway, I was sort of on alert about this.
I don't
It was
know
a
why they would
curious
do
fact. And
Wanted to
I
die.
saw a talk given by somebody who was talking about telomeres. And he was talking about telomeres and their relationship to cancer.
Heartbeat
So telomeres are
sensor.
repetitive sequences of
Heartbeat
DNA at the ends of...
sensor.
Your fight is over.
Waiting for Ross. Actually,
Earn
I'm gonna
your way
fly
out.
load up and get Ross.
You showed them no mercy. Stand by for redeployment. The enemy lost track of you. You're safe.
What changed? Why am I lagging now? Okay, I'm gonna look at my task manager.
Armor on the ground.
Body armor here.
Uh-oh.
That sounded close.
It is close. I don't know where from though. Looking around.
GeForce Game Ready Drive update is available. You think that's what's causing it?
No.
Could be.
No.
It's
It didn't.
downloading an update while
No.
that fucked up everything?
Yeah, I probably gotta relaunch the game after the update finishes.
No, dude. That's this. No.
Changing your game drivers in the middle of your video drivers in the
It's-
middle of
it
the
did.
game that
It did.
changes your settings.
It didn't. He has to install them. It didn't just auto-install them. The fucking shit happens to me too all the time. Drops like 40 or 50 frames. I just reboot my client and it works.
Yeah, it happens to me all the time too.
Never happened to me yet. It just happened.
You wanna go kill that Kang?
Yes.
Target
Alright,
sighted!
Whatever. I'm gonna go die to that Kang so I can relaunch my client.
Okay. Okay.
This sucks. 80 FPS. This is so terrible.
It's not that bad.
How do people play like this? I can't see shit.
Friendly drop bag headed your way.
How lucky.
Gas is closing in. Relocating the safe zone.
Kang right in front of us. Team
Most
wipe.
wanted target neutralized. Well done.
Wanna go grab for that king? They're getting in a jeep.
Huh?
They're in a jeep, probably going to the closest buy station.
Oh, they're in a Jeep.
We got gas moving in.
They're going towards that other king.
Kangs are gonna fight to see who the Kang of the Kangs is.
We are
These
inside
other
the
kings
circle.
are coming from
Get
up
ready for
this,
incoming.
from there.
Contact! Contact!
Well, but they're going to go after each other for a sec. Oh my gosh, these guys are just running away from me. Do that one instead, Carmina? Should we try that black text or white text with black outline? I agree. Oh my gosh. Alright, we've been on a wild freaking goose chase, dude. Suppress shots coming down here.
Yeah, I hear him.
Vendor here. Gas on my left.
Some are in the building right in front of us.
movement. I see movement.
Yup, he just jumped out of the building.
See movement.
Team wipe.
Well, there were others, so.
Yup, he was fighting it.
Meters in front of me.
spotted.
Down a guy here.
Down a guy on the roof.
Another guy. I downed his team. Still over here.
Cancel that.
Team wipe. Four plates on this guy if we hit.
Dude, what the fuck? This MP7 loadout's dumb as fuck.
Everyone have a satchel?
There's a satchel over here on the guy I killed there. Don't talk to next to. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
FPS is gone. I'm so lucky I won that fight. I couldn't even see him. Shooting where I thought he was.
You can
I
get
found
that real
this
quick.
if you need it.
Objective updated. Secure that position.
Yours the area.
Mark on the ground. Gas on my left.
Gas is inbound. Marking new safe zone.
Not mean to step on it, but since I'm on it, may as well sit on it. Close this door real quick.
Contract complete. Recon intel secured.
Well, may as well move out.
Getting shot that direction.
Mark out, I'm going.
Gas is inbound. Enemy UAV
Broke his
overhead.
armor. Broke his armor
Going this
here.
way. Wait, cancel that. I see movement.
If you are not in the circle, it's time to move.
In front of me, 35 meters.
Contact!
Found one. There's another at this, where's armor? Team wipe? Yeah. It was a headshot, long shot, elimination. Like everything was stacking up, and team wipe was the last one.
These fights are so shitty and dumb. I want to fight people. They're all just die.
Is
And
that the
I just
issue?
want us to die so I can relaunch my game.
Rude.
So dumb. Can't see anything. My eyes are bleeding.
Here, there is a helicopter.
Enemy UAV overhead.
50 meters.
Gas
in
is
front of me,
inbound.
southwest.
Marking new safe zone.
Probably on buy station.
Enemy UAV overhead.
I didn't get anything on by.
Oh, maybe he was running past it.
Contact!
I think we should just run, Ross. I don't think there's anyone up here.
He was calling up the ladder. He's calling up the ladder. I just shot him, broke his armor. On my ping.
Choppers don't spawn up here, I don't think. That's why I was.
Enemy UAV overhead.
Good point.
Looks like they died.
Pistol here.
Lux is fighting them, I think.
No, he was running up the ladder, so I took a shot because he was
Where
stuck
are
on the
they?
ladder.
Going in.
Pinged.
Gas on my left. Location marked. Let's move.
He jumped
Got
off the
gas
ladder.
moving in.
Never mind. Disregard.
There we go.
And they're across the building from us, on the same buildings as we're on.
Safe?
Oh, they're pushing. I broke armor one.
We're
He's
in the
pushing.
safe
He's
zone.
right here.
Get ready
There's
for
a
incoming.
guy off there.
He's right here. He's
Heading
right in
down.
this house right here.
Downed one.
I'm gonna pop him.
He downed one, Ross. Hit the shot of my life. I couldn't even see him.
Got one. Downed him, Thurston.
Right here, kill Tux.
Enemy
What the-
contact!
I
Broke
see.
his armor. He's
Oh,
pushing you. I broke his armor, but he's pushing you. Oh, you're dead?
I didn't have any plates after my 1v1.
And I broke that guy's armor, though.
Got the drop on me.
Your teammate was sent to the gulag. They'll fight for a chance to redeploy. Teammate has been cleared for
Broke
redeployment.
armor. He just jumped off the back of the building, Ross.
Mark out, I'm going.
I think his other teammate's the one that killed Tux. Yeah, he's on the ground. Okay, downed one. Right there in the stairwell.
Mark out, I'm going.
Did you rest? No, it was they rest.
No,
they
they
just
did.
fought on the buy station.
Enemy soldier incoming.
Fuck it, I'm pushing with you, Ross.
Alright. Killed that
Gas
one
is
guy.
moving in. New safe zone located.
Is there another guy on the roof of this?
There was a guy on the buy station. I don't know where he went.
You're right. The buy station guy we don't have. Alright. He could have gone
No
up.
idea where he
He
went.
could have gone up the other side.
Friendly drop bag headed your way.
I'm thinking about moving off this roof.
He did. He went up the other side.
He's on top of the roof.
Yep.
Gonna take forever to get up here.
Yeah, if you don't have dead silence, it really sucks. Kiltux probably should just watch the buy station, I would guess. I don't know.
I am.
Yeah, I know.
Down here watching for him to jump or hit the buy station. He hasn't peeked at all. At
Looks like
all.
he was shooting off the other side, actually.
Whoa, whoa. The fuck? Man, what is this shit? They're both
Where?
outside. There's another team outside that just came over the mountains.
See him. Okay, gonna get shot from a million miles away.
Parachuted on.
Yeah. damn. Should I try and buy you guys in or what?
They just bought some of their people in just a second ago. Saw him under the right. He's under the green. Yep.
Ah, damn! Fucking stop shooting me! Who was that other? Okay, I see him. I see him. Not aiming at me anymore. Okay. What do you think? Should I just drop down and buy you guys in? Because I can't see anything in my eyes.
Under 10 to go. Keep fighting.
Whatever you think. There was a guy in black running down there too, I thought. So.
They were here. Could still be close. Cancel that. Never mind.
9 people left. If I jump down, it's basically suicide. My only hope is...
You also can't save both of us if you jump down.
True.
You don't have enough money, so if you could finish one more guy and steal his money.
I'm in the circle.
Ooh, that's so valuable. I mean, you could jump down by and get back in real quick.
It's too risky.
But there's 9
That'd
people
be a
alive,
suicide
4
mission.
teams.
If only my eyes weren't bleeding, man. What the fuck is this? Why do I get this game when I can't see shit?
You must have very sensitive eyes.
I really hope I don't die. Alive.
So Carmina, at gold bar, that pound sign, do I copy that pound sign or do I just insert it right there after that quote mark? After span ID, I'm guessing. Just paste the whole thing and overwrite it? Oh. Paste it under background 1. Oh, that's because I'm looking at HTML says CSS. I'm sorry. Well, it changed it. I don't know what I did there, but changed it.
5 remain. Stay alert.
Target marked.
Allied
Hit them
precision
now.
airstrike incoming. Beware.
So easy. Not even Ross, you didn't see my 1BX left. You see my 1BX left? Clip my 1BX clutch because I couldn't see shit.
I can tell it to clip, but it won't work, so I'll just give you the...
That was the same guy that sniped you too.
Could hear the boomers talking. That's the URL for it, but it
Yeah, I'm gonna restart my game so my eyes can stop bleeding for once. So let me peep this 1vx clutch. Clips missing.
yeah, my clips don't work. I can't clip anything on my browser, dude. I don't know.
What? Why not?
Been that way for about a month now. Every time I clip something, if I open about 20 browser tabs and paste, one of them might work, but or if I go open up Firefox, maybe.
How? There was 5 remaining, right? And they were fighting. I might have to clip this. Hold up, let me start up my game again.
You see a thing at the start. Oops, now I gotta recopy it for you from you.
Alright, I'm in your party again.
Alright, give me a sec here. I'm pretty sure you're not telling me where I'm supposed to start pasting it. You said after the background part, so I was like, okay, put it after the background part, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't look correct because it looks all weird. Doesn't have the same formatting at all. Alright. Didn't seem to do anything.
Alright, I clipped it.
Goal what? Now I can watch in all of its glory. Hey, it's Clutch God.
5 remain. Stay alert.
Target marked.
Allied
Hit them
precision
now.
airstrike incoming. Beware.
So easy.
5 remain. Stay alert.
So there's 5 alive,
Target marked.
and you call it an airstrike and never shoot a shot. Got it.
Intense 1vx bleeding eyes clutch. That's what you just witnessed.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Are you queuing us up, Ross, or what?
I'm trying. Hold on here.
I'm tired.
Yeah, well, it did something, Carmina.
I'm tired. I'm going to bed.
What? That's it?
Fucking 2 a.m. in the morning, man. I'm fucking tired. I gotta work at 8.
After that intense 1vx clutch, we're not gonna play more?
It's a perfect time to end, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fucking tired, man. I can't keep my fucking eyeballs open. And they're fucking around with this shit, so whatever. Evening. I'll be on tomorrow, so.
User left your channel.
It was always there. With this, like, tabbed out and spaced out and all that.
You guys done already?
Yep.
Jeez.
I don't know. James, do you want to play duos?
I mean, not really.
Okay.
I just got videos to watch. My eyes are bleeding for like 40 minutes there.
Your eyes are bleeding.
Yeah, I was getting massive frame drops.
I'm
That's
so tired, dude. Maybe I had Corona.
hence the title of my clip there, Instant. I don't know if you watched that. That was intense. You should watch that final fight.
Five remain. Stay alert.
The date at the bottom. Gotta be honest with you, Carmina, I don't see a date at the bottom.
What about the high ground, mannequin? Don't try it.
The date at the bottom on my stream.
Oh, I see it. No, like under, right above follower goal. Go to a light background. Go to something a light background. Go to a light background. Go to a light background. Pick a light background. Try to find a white screen for a light background. Yeah, you see that little date? A penis.
Oh, yeah. That is over here. But it's like this part. So if I had this, there it is. If I change it to this, it'll look like that. Okay, that's standard. But I have it to condensed, so it's just this. It's a smaller footprint, and it takes some of the words out of it. It's here on the, I guess this is Java, I don't know. Right. Yeah. Goal and date is on the post, is on the HTML that you sent me.
Ross, can you go to the JavaScript? Like, what's going on with your stuff here? Is that all of it? Title. Where do you position it and stuff?
Right here, where this is blank. You used to have another bar.
No,
right
I mean,
there.
like, where do you set the positioning? Because like
In
it's right now it's off.
Streamlabs.
Right now it's off, right? It's like too far to the left or something.
It's here.
Oh, that is so terrible. I can't read anything. Sub goal. Then something white.
Here's more custom CSS. Maybe I have to put that in there too. I don't know.
I can't even read. Okay, what is under the sub goal, Ross?
Follower goal.
No, like there's. Pull that back up. Pull that back up. Okay, like there's a date there, and then there's like a white text thing. What is that all about?
That is. This right here. You in your goal, you set your end date when you want to reach that goal or whatever. And so it'll appear to be like 7 days
Okay,
to
but
go.
where do you control that?
in the my goal settings. If I end my goal, I can then put it there. Yes,
Go to the
Karina?
settings for that.
Read up.
I don't know if that's gonna work, Carmina. I think it's set in the OBS settings.
Now in the CSS, where do I put it right here? Well, it shows up, kinda.
Fuck? What am I looking at?
It doesn't have my. It's not pulling my colors, and it's not pulling. So now customize it. But it already is customized right here. Okay. So I want to set. Why is this line repeated right here?
Good question.
Okay. So, how do we do the... You're wanting to change and do bar thickness now, but... We don't even have my colors or font or anything. Why are you telling me to replace... It is, it's right here. It's already set to that.
He's saying the custom CSS overwrites all of those settings.
Okay, I get that. I understand that, but where do I put that?
You need to type something into CSS.
I thought Carmina was doing that.
Yeah, Carmina's supposed to be doing that. Just
Where?
anywhere, just put it in there. Why don't you have a closed bracket for that? Carmina, are you supposed to have a closed bracket for that? Yeah, you didn't paste you didn't finish the closed bracket there, Ross.
Well, Dayu said anywhere.
That will technically work. That will technically work. It just looks ugly. You know,
A brace or a bracket?
Well, first paste the thing under it, and then put the end bracket. The convention is that the end of a line is the semicolon, Ross, and if you want to type something after that, you go to a new line, and you put the semicolon. Right? That's a convention. Technically, if you, for some reason, want everything on one line, you could just do one big line with semicolons. You can. It'll just look ugly. So that people don't do that. Oh, and the other convention is, Ross, if you scroll up to what Carmina posted, the end bracket's actually at the very bottom, and that convention is there so that when you want to add extra things, you just go to a new line, you click at the end of your line anywhere and hit enter, and then you can paste the new line, right? But if you keep the close bracket right at the end of it, then you have to click right in between the semicolon and the close bracket, and it's just less easy.
I don't think I have text size, Carmina. I think I just adjusted it in OBS.
You might want that lowercase, Ross. I'm not sure if this is case sensitive or not. So you might want height to be lowercase.
In OBS, it doesn't have a size here, I don't think. It's just this part, which is like the whole box area.
Go to your follower goal. How did you set the follower goal font size?
See, it's exactly the same.
Bet you if you guessed 28 pixels, it'd be pretty close.
There is
Because
I don't ever
the
put
bar
it anywhere.
is 32 pixels, right? So the font size looks like a couple pixels above and a couple pixels below. Maybe. 28 or 24 is what I would guess.
Probably 24.
Width to 100%. Why is the width of the bar messed up? What's up with that? Ross just out here
I dragged
defying
that.
all conventions here, putting font size on the same line.
It's oh my gosh. Carmi didn't put a space here like all the others, so I'm just gonna assume there are.
I don't know if the space matters. It might, but it might not. Don't forget the close bracket at the bottom. Type that in real quick. Put it at the bottom, Ross. Put it on its own line at the bottom. It says 10. That's what it says. It says 10. I can read it now. And it's not vertically aligned, by the way.
Why does it say 10?
I don't know. It says 10.
It's not supposed to say 10.
You need to fix the vertical align, Carmina.
I just think we need to go back to default and then paste it to you from there. in OBS. That is set here in these properties.
Rena, this looks like it's more work than you signed up for. Maybe it's better to just use the automatic tools. Like right now we have the bar, right? But how are you gonna do it so that the bar automatically changes color based off of the sub count?
Goal total is the ID. And goal current is the darker red. Really not so sure that I was supposed to be able to do this myself. I don't know if this is possible. Because it's in the stream. But what I used to do for Orion is do this, go into here, and find his stuff in here, and I would change his background colors and stuff, finding them in this. That's how I'd find them and figure out where to place them and stuff like that. I don't know if that works because it's part of the total stream itself. I don't know if that singles out or if what I'm saying even makes sense to you. But I used to edit HTML when I worked for Orion, but that was 5 years ago. And it was all self-taught. So
of our chromosomes, and they grow shorter every time a cell divides, right? So it's like a fuse or a counter that ticks down each cell division, and it drops to 0. And or not 0, but it drops to a number that the cell refuses to divide after that. And some people were working in one set of labs on the possibility that this was causing us to grow feeble with age, because if your cells can't divide anymore, then they won't replace themselves and your tissues won't be able to maintain, right? Another group was studying this question of telomeres with relation to cancer, and they were saying, eureka, every time we look in a cancer, it has this enzyme called telomerase turned on, which elongates telomeres.
Hey,
And these two groups were not
some of it
talking to
started.
each other. They were each claiming that they were about to
Starting to
cure
look
their
right.
respective disease. One group was saying, if we can activate telomerase, then we can lengthen your life. And the other group was saying, if we can turn off telomerase, we
Why
can
is
cure
the
cancer.
width wrong?
Right? And I put 2 and 2 together, and I said, this is the
Because
missing
it's the
platform.
size of the box.
Here we have something that is
So,
protecting us,
notice
it's
this
helping
is
us
not
in
the
youth.
actual
We have a
size of the
counter
box.
that is limiting the number of times a cell can divide
This
and
is-
presumably preventing
so
cancer.
now I have to.
Right? And the cost is you can't maintain your tissues forever, so you grow feeble and inefficient. So
Oh,
that
how
made
are
a hell
you
of a
doing
lot of
that,
sense to
huh?
me. I couldn't convince
In
anybody
OBS, I'm
else
taking the box and
that this
dragging
was
it
sensible. I
over.
couldn't even get them to understand what I was saying because
going
in evolutionary
off
biology
the
there
total
has
size of the
traditionally
thing.
been a bias not
Why are you dragging it
against the
over?
mechanism, the study of cellular biology.
Why don't you
Not
just
because
make
there's anything
the
wrong with
box
studying
less?
cellular biology as an
Oh,
evolutionary
well, because it
phenomenon,
used to be messed up.
but because
But the way see how
early in the
this one
study of
is?
evolution, we just
I
didn't
have
have the
to put
tools
the
to look
box
into the
farther
cells.
over.
So evolutionary
Then I have to put the box farther over than what it is because it's inset or whatever. So now it's not inset, but I was treating it as if it was.
Hey, so it's actually 3 out of 10.
Still can't tell what that actually says there.
3 out of 10 is what it says. Or maybe it's 2 out of 10. I think that's 3 out of 10.
I can't tell because we need the font thickness more.
Font thickness more.
I think.
Go to 28 pixels. I think it's supposed to be 28 pixels. Font size 28 pixels. Boom. I think that's better.
That definitely looks better for sure.
Think.
And the white outline will look on the black will look better once the darker tone is all the way up. I'm not sure why.
Can you just stay on the code instead of like swapping around like an ADD madman?
Well, I can't see it until I look there.
Why don't you pull up your stream on your second monitor? Hello?
Because my other monitors are full.
Fucking take down your porn. Pull up
I'm
your
watching
stream
a
on your second monitor.
podcast.
You're gonna watch a podcast. What does that even mean?
I only watch podcasts.
You're gonna watch them like talking. You don't know what they're talking about, but like watching them move their mouth gives you comfort.
Yeah, I don't really listen to. I don't listen to. I can't think of a single podcast that I just listen to. I watch all of them. And podcasts that are only in audio form that like only upload like clips of video part really annoy me.
I'm gonna be honest. The black with the white outline, it doesn't look very good. It looks unreadable, TBH.
I'll show you what white looks like on the follower goal. In Korean, I think it looks better in black.
I think you need to pick two dark colors. I think that's your issue. I don't know, like you're going with like brown and pink, and to be honest, I don't know if I like brown and pink. But you could choose two colors that are both dark colors, like black and blue. But I guess that doesn't go with your brick theme.
I pretty much matched it to the color of the brick. Now, what all of this cancels out, right? If I go to this one, I turn this on, and it's this little GDI file right here that I've put down into this corner, and I could build out just like a thing. I could have Mitchell Photoshop me like a thing to put here in my brick inlay that's like, that just says like sub count or something like that. And in this one, I could change the outline size, the outline color. This alignment is just like, if you were, I don't know why. It doesn't make sense. Because I picked the alignment. It's like in its own box how it's aligned. I don't know, it's dumb. Like on this part. I don't know. And I also need to find the font that Mitchell used for this part, for the Big Woody sauce. Which, it might not even have that font, I don't know.
Yo, you guys want to see some hella freaky?
Yeah, what?
That seems easier than trying to do all this, Carmina.
Type in any 3-digit number into Google plus new cases.
Yeah.
666 new cases. Am I gonna get put on a watch list if I type this in?
No.
Armina, tell me if this is safe. Armina, tell me if this is safe. Can I do this? Am I gonna get put in a watch list? Does this have some sort of hidden meaning? Be identified as a fucking
Here,
terrorist?
I did it for you, pussy.
Virginia sees 666 new coronavirus cases. Is that it?
Now type in another 3-digit number. Any 3-digit number you want.
Okay. Any 3-digit number. I'm gonna try 101. 102. 103. 104. 105.
Shut up! Shut up, Carmina! Bag. What is the point of doing this?
Big Brother is watching.
What is the point of this?
I just told you.
You just told me what?
Aha! 998. Didn't work. Wait. Okay, 998 barely works. Okay, there's one news headline with 998.
It just finds any. It just sounds like it finds any headline that has that.
Yeah.
I don't get it, I don't get it, Cookies.
I'm not gonna explain it to you. If you can't figure it out yourself, then you're not very smart.
Well, I think what you're going for is that Google is somehow taking any number that you search for and just adding it to a coronavirus thing.
Well,
That's some sort of like deep state trickery of search engine that's going on.
you might be getting warm.
But what it seems like is just finding news articles that fit that. It's not saying the same thing every time. It's finding any source that has that number, whether it's in Germany or Ukraine or Iowa or a certain county or LA or whatever. It finds one that has that many typed out and puts it there. So is your point that Google is really good at finding specific info? Or are you saying Google?
Ross.
Are you saying Google is replacing search results with coronavirus?
I'm not saying anything, Ross.
Then why did you have us do this?
I think you need to ask yourself.
This isn't like one of those things where you type in, you know, Tiananmen Square and you get like 0 results or something. I don't understand. That font I just picked because it looked the closest to what my Twitter is on my background.
If you change the CSS for that font, or for the shadow, what does that do? What are the 4 things there? Yeah.
Biologists got used to thinking about the form of creatures and the behavior of creatures, but not thinking about the internal mechanisms because there just wasn't a lot that could be said. Anyway, I retained an interest in the cellular biology. I saw these 2 things that needed to be connected, and I started to work on the puzzle. It turned out that that hypothesis would answer a great many questions that were otherwise very difficult to answer with respect to how aging functions. But there was one huge obstacle. The obstacle was that a fact that was well known about mice did not fit with the idea that telomeres were fundamental to the aging process.
In every direction.
And the fact that was known was that mice had extremely long telomeres, and yet they lived short lives. So if it were true that the length of your telomeres dictated how quickly you were going to age, then a tiny creature with very long telomeres ought to be able to replace its tissues really well, and it should age very, very slowly.
Are you saying I should do this?
So I thought there's got to be something wrong with this. The hypothesis answers too many questions for that obstacle to be real, and I thought maybe one person has run a test and everybody else is just parroting it. And I went and I looked, and that wasn't the case. And I finally realized that all of the mice that had been looked at were coming from one source, that there was a laboratory in Bar Harbor, Maine called the JAX Lab.
I think it's highlighting this because it's saying it doesn't recognize this trigger or whatever, but it actually is because it worked. I'm also not sure, Carmina. Something is wrong with your percentage that the bar is filling up. It's 3 out of 10, and it's only like 3 out of 100 or something. If that makes sense. As I just assumed that's how the progress bar filling up works. Talking to me?
How do you control the what's written there, Ross? How is that showing up? That's a good question.
Here? How to control what's written where?
The 3 out of 10. Where's that coming from?
That is coming from... You want me to delete that and see what happens? Doesn't seem to do anything noticeable. Ah! The white outline is working. I see it. I agree. Doesn't say anything about being bold. I think it made a difference. I haven't put it. Doesn't look any better.
What you doing, Ross? You trying to code some stuff?
Apparently. With limited but increasing levels of success. Thanks to hours of work that Carmina is putting into making a white outline on this that ended up not looking good. Wasn't that the whole point? Was to just add a white outline? And he ended up having to rebuild the whole bar? Should I just go back to default? And disable the whole use custom thing? Since the slider isn't working? Or should I do like what I was saying earlier and just cut out that whole bar, everything, just go with number and have Mitchell Photoshop me a box to put it in.
That was the source for all of the mice being used in all of the laboratories in the country. And I started to wonder, is there something going on at that lab? Maybe mouse telomeres aren't long. The ultra-long telomeres of mice aren't real. Maybe that's a feature of laboratory mice, and wild mice would have short telomeres, in which case the hypothesis would make sense. And I called up one of the leading people in the field, a woman named Carol Greider, who's now won a Nobel Prize. And I said, Carol, you don't know me. I'm an evolutionary biology graduate student.
Takes no space for the
I have
stream.
a question for you. Is it possible
I was going to put the chat over
all
there.
mice don't have long telomeres, that that's really just laboratory mice? And she said, well, I think mice have long telomeres, but it's interesting. If you order Mus spretus rather than Mus musculus, and you order them from Europe, then how long their telomeres are depends on what supplier you get them from. So this is interesting. So anyway, we both agreed that it was really interesting. She decided she was going to test the hypothesis. She put her graduate student, Mike Heeman, on the case. We exchanged some emails, and anyway, they tested it, and they got some mice that weren't really wild, but they were much more recently in captivity. And lo and behold, they had short telomeres. Okay, so that was an amazing moment. My prediction had turned out to be true, which meant, A, that my hypothesis about senescence and cancer and aging might well be true. That was important. But it also raised a bunch of really difficult problems. One was, if it is true that all the mice that are being used to study
Well, it means people can full screen
are
the stream and not miss chat.
broken in this way, then how are we blinding ourselves? Is it possible that we are using all of these mice that would be terrible models for wound healing, for senescence, for cancer, for a whole number of things? how is it that we are allowing ourselves to take these mice who have been altered and using them as models for normal physiology? And the other problem, maybe even more serious, was that we use these animals in drug safety testing. And the way we use them is, if you think about, if you'd come up with a drug that you thought was useful and you wanted to test whether it was safe to administer it to people, you can't really afford to give people a drug and then wait 40, 50 years to figure out whether you've shortened their lives, right? So at the point that you start testing these things on humans, you're really in the final stage. The way we test whether a drug is safe for long-term use, or whether it is safe for your long-term life based on short use, is we give large doses of it to small animals that live short lives on the assumption that if it's going to shorten your 80 or 90-year life by 10 or 20 years, that it'll shorten a mouse's life long enough to see it. But here's the problem. If you've altered a mouse in the laboratory environment by favoring the radical elongation of its telomeres, then it has the ability to replace its tissues indefinitely. A toxin that will harm you by killing tissue may not harm that mouse. In fact, it may actually help it, because these mice are very cancer prone. So when we give a toxin that will damage you to a mouse that is highly resistant to tissue damage, you may slow down its tumors. And in fact, we've seen this a number of times, where a drug is given to mice and we get back the paradoxical result. Not only is it not toxic, it actually makes the mice live a little longer, right? So my contention is that we had a problem where we were testing drugs to see if they were safe on animals that were predisposed to
No, so we're talking about telomeres or whatever on mice, the gene or something that determines their tissue growth rate for altering how long they live or something, and how if laboratory mice have actually evolved to have better tissue growth replacements or whatever than wild mice, because that's what their use is, and all these science places order mice from large mice, farms. So there's the science when you're testing drugs and other things on mice is actually different than a regular mouse.
Hey.
Yeah,
You know
so
what
it
we
makes
need to
their
do?
studies messed up.
You know what we need to do?
What's up, Ensign?
We need to start playing Apex again.
Why on earth would you start playing Apex again?
Because it's a better game than COD.
I know Deus and Kiltox will probably like it because it's faster, you don't take damage, you can slide around. So they might want to play it with you. I don't really.
Everyone knows, Ross, that Apex is a better game. Ask anybody.
I think you're gonna find that to be a long road to hoe.
Ross, I think you are the only person in here that would make the argument that COD is better.
You said ask anybody, not ask people in this team speak.
Way to twist my word, Ross.
First of all, it's true. If Apex was a better game, quote unquote, than COD,
Ross, I think you're reading too much into hyperbolic statements.
then why are you making them?
Because hyperbolic statements made to be that way.
So it's hyperbolic that Apex is better than COD.
it is hyperbolic to say that everyone agrees that Apex is better.
Right, that's obvious, but I would think that you're
That
implying...
is obvious. That's why I said it.
Right, but I think that you're implying that a majority of people or something would agree with it. But the problem is that Apex's community has fallen off, and Warzone is the hotness.
Oh, so we're back to the whole let's judge the greatness of a game by its population.
Well, how else are you supposed to judge it?
If that's the only metric you want to use to judge a game, then Fortnite's the best game ever made.
Right.
Just putting that out there.
Right.
So we should all play Fortnite.
And Fortnite is a great game, but it's not. I don't really care. I didn't really care for its style.
Yeah, so the population doesn't matter.
I really enjoy watching Fortnite. Actually, I thought watching Fortnite was quite interesting, but playing it was brutal.
Fortnite has had its day.
The problem with Fortnite right now, the problem with Fortnite is they have some weird. I don't know what it is, but Tim and Ninja and Cypher were going over this thing where there's some thing right now where everyone just drops and dies for some reason, and when the very first circle is popping, there'll be like 5 people left in the entire match. I don't know why that is, but apparently there's a problem with the amount of locations there are to drop, or the amount of or where they're placing valuable. Apparently you have to drop in certain places on the map in order to get stuff, maybe. So everyone just goes to the same places and kills themselves.
Honestly, I'm glad that Fortnite exists.
I am too.
Yes.
Fortnite proved that crossplay is the future.
That's not why. Fortnite takes all the kids that I don't want playing the games that I play and puts them into one place. Like, I don't want to be playing League of Legends with Kiltux's son on my team. We'll let him play Fortnite. And
Right.
I'll play League of Legends.
Yeah, I get that.
Or I'll do my classic WoW raid without a bunch of 10-year-olds fucking needing on everything.
I feel you there.
I mean, you can tell Fortnite is just. I'm not gonna say it's all children because that's not true, but it's just look at the people that stream it. Most of the people are under 20. I go on to Twitch right now and I look at Fortnite and like the top 5 people, 4 of them are like 16 years old. I don't know why they're streaming Fortnite at 4 in the morning, but
Tell us that they were. And then when those drugs were released into the human population, it turned out they were not safe and people died. Now the problem is, I was absolutely unable to alert the world to this problem for reasons that still elude me. I published my paper. I went through, I don't think we need to bore your audience, especially if they've been through Eric's description, with the details of what happened in the attempt to bring this to public attention. But the world of scientists working on the question was
I've been thinking
unwilling
about
to
what
respond
you guys were
to
talking
the
about.
discovery that their model organism had
I
this
think it
fatal
doesn't
flaw
make
that was going to
sense
predispose us to see
say
certain
that
things and not other things
one game is the
in the
best.
laboratory environment. The
I think
governmental
that
commission
statement
that
isn't
was
specific enough. Can't say like, oh, this game is the best game or that game is the best game.
Yeah, of course, because you have genre-specific stuff and you have personal preference stuff.
even genre specific. I think like if you say like this game is the best shooter ever made, I still think that's not specific enough. I think just best as a category is not specific enough. So if we were to give out an award for best shooter game launched in 2015, I think that doesn't make any sense. I think you'd have to break it down into like most popular or most competitive or that sort of
You'd
thing,
have to
right?
break it down by percentage of concurrent players in proportion to people purchasing the game in proportion to people on the platform.
Games.
Yeah.
How do you measure competitiveness?
So, I was thinking like why you would play certain games, right? And popularity, that sort of thing. So, to measure competitiveness, what it would really be is a measure of skill differential and skill disparity, especially among the top tier play. In other words, how dominant top teams or top players could be would be evidence for a more competitive game. For example, tennis, I think, is one of the most competitive skill-based games out there.
As an avid tennis player, I agree.
Because, like, Federer is on top for like 20 years or something, right?
Federer's probably the best tennis player.
He's not even in his peak anymore. 20 years later, and he's still at the top, right? That's how you know it's skill-based, because his physical capabilities have declined somewhat, but he's just so damn good at the game that he's at the top still. That's how you know.
Same with Serena.
That's how you know that like tennis is skill-based. In other games, it's like, okay, you hit your peak, and then physical decline a few years later, and then you're out, you know?
Same with golf. Golf has the problem, though, what we're talking about is not being too much of an athletic sport, but still the same thing applies.
I have no experience with golf. So
as long as your body is capable. Well, I mean, older players, you can have pro players playing 40, 50 years old pretty easily.
You ever seen Federer's wife? She's hideous.
Well, the real question to me, Ross, would be, do like really good golf players just lose matches like pretty regularly, or does a really good golf player just never lose any matches? Like, can the best be super dominant?
Yeah, they're super dominant. Let me look. You're right. I need to stretch it out a little bit. Thank you.
And actually, pretty sure somebody did some sort of study about it, some sort of sports study, to find out what the most competitive sport was. I don't think they used the word competitive, but they looked at
the most skill-based sport.
Yeah. I think that's what it was, most skill-based. They looked at how often the better teams who were expected to win actually won and that sort of thing, and how dominant players and teams were able to be. And I think out of the popular U.S. sports, so I think it was like football, hockey, baseball, basketball. I think it was those four. And I think basketball actually won.
Surprising.
And what they found was that small numbers of people was advantageous for skill-based, because that way
charged with studying the
one or
Vioxx
two
scandal,
really
which
good
I believe
players
was likely the
have
result
more
of
of an
something
effect,
like this.
right?
In its 300-page report,
So if
doesn't
it's
mention
one-on-one, it's like the ultimate.
mice. It
'cause it's
doesn't
The
just
mention
one
Vioxx scandal,
guy,
which was a
if that
drug
one guy's really, really good, you
for
can't
arthritis,
lose.
correct?
Yeah.
It gave people strokes.
And if it's five,
yeah,
it's
it did
like,
heart
okay, he
damage.
still
Yeah.
has pretty
And so,
pretty good
anyway,
impact.
heart damage is
And then if
actually
you compare
probably not heart damage.
basketball
Um,
to
And
baseball,
by that, what I mean is, if you take
basketball, one
a
guy
drug,
can
a
be out
substance
there,
that damages tissues
or not,
in
not
the human
basketball,
body,
baseball. Basketball,
it will
the
show
hockey,
up
maybe.
as heart damage because of the
A
special
lot
nature
of times
of the
you
heart.
have
So let's say
your
that you
star
took
basketball
some drug
players
that
are out
you know,
there a lot.
killed every 10,000th cell or
For
every
hockey,
1,000th cell.
sometimes
That would be destructive
your
all
star
over your body.
your star hockey
The
players
heart,
can't be out
though,
there
is a
as
special
much
tissue.
because
The heart has a very
they're,
low capacity for
they don't have as much
self-repair at a
endurance, and
cellular
their play
level.
style is
Very
very,
low,
very
for reasons we could go into
comes
if
in
you want.
bursts. So
But
they got to be on the ice.
because
and
it has a
off the
low
ice right away,
capacity for
you know?
self-repair,
So they're not out there as much.
it is also very
So in
vulnerable
hockey,
to something that does some kind of
the
general
star players can
tissue
dominate
damage.
less.
And it's also an organ that, when it fails, it's absolutely conspicuous.
Mm.
So you would
But yeah,
expect that
basketball
if we
was the number
had
one out
substances
of
that were
those four
body-wide
popular ones.
toxins and we released them into the public, having tested them on mice and not discovering that they were dangerous, that you would see relatively young people die from heart conditions, which is where we would detect that there's a problem before we would detect it anywhere else.
Hmm.
So anyway, the government studied this problem after Vioxx, and it put together a report. And the report's 300 pages. It doesn't mention mice. It doesn't mention the genus Mus.
Do you think they did that to protect themselves?
Well, what I know is that I attempted to call their attention. After the report came out, I looked at it, and, you know, it had a physical form, but it lives online. You can search it. And I could see that telomeres weren't mentioned, mice weren't mentioned, rodents aren't mentioned. And so I tried to alert them to the fact that they had screwed up, and they blew me off. They wouldn't talk to me. So it raises a question, and I, to this day, cannot answer the question. I can't even say whether or not. So when I've tried to raise this issue, I have run into various kinds of resistance. If I raise it with journalists, what I get back is typically I get interest back at first. And they say, okay, I'm very interested in the story. I'm going to pursue it. I'm going to make a few phone calls. And then they come back to me and they go silent, or they say, well, I talked to some people and they said, it's been taken care of, right? Well, I don't know what it's been taken care of means. I published a paper that said, here's a hypothesis about what's going on. Here's my, I proposed a mechanism whereby telomere elongation would have happened in the breeding colonies in question. And
it's been taken care of is a very strange way to describe something that could be an enormous problem.
Well, not only, let's say that it was taken care of, right? Let's say that they have altered the breeding protocol and they've fixed the problem.
You still have all those drug tests that they've done for...
You've got all those drug tests. You've got all of the papers. You've got my paper, which proposes a hypothesis, and I have a right to say, actually, it turns out to be correct, or it wasn't, right? But so anyway, we got back all of these weird answers. It's been taken care of, or even more curious is the argument, well, everybody knows that the mice are bad models, which is insane because this telomere
You actually got that response?
Yeah.
From?
Several people. I went to several different journalists, and it wasn't that I was told who they contacted. What I was told was that they contacted somebody, and this is what they heard. And so their enthusiasm evaporated at the point they make a phone call. So
were they not aware of the consequences of this problem with these mice?
So, again, we have a serious problem. It's not about mice. It's not about virology. Right? It's a general systemic failure of reason. So what I encountered as a young, somewhat naive graduate student was an
You know why tennis is a good game?
which frankly woke me up to the fact that my colleagues,
'Cause there's
even
no
when
teammates
human
to
life
phone
was
anchor
on the line, were going to pretend
What
they
if you're
didn't know
doing
what was going on.
No one cares about
It's quite
doubles.
possible they didn't know
Not even at the
until
professional level do
I
people care about
put out
doubles.
my hypothesis, and Carol Greider, who later pretended she didn't know what I was talking
Doubles are
about,
like
published the empirical work that revealed that indeed
Okay,
lab mice are unusual in having long telomeres. After that work was out, there's no excuse for not investigating what the consequences were.
me educating you on a matter you
I
don't know
cannot
about.
explain it except to say that the culture of science has become so rotten
You're
that this sort of
embarrassing
thing is maybe
know some
standard
of us are
operating
blessed
procedure.
play
Just
rich
protecting
white
their
people
ass
games like
and
golf,
protecting the
tennis,
ass of
and
those
kids.
who give them
Wait,
jobs
what?
and
We
all
need
the
others
work
to
that's
tell
been
us.
done that sort of
Excuse me?
establishes
Get back to the court.
that they should be
b-ball
doing these
player.
tests in the first place.
I'm sure they tell themselves some story in which they are the
There's
heroes
something wrong
and they
with
are protecting us from something.
Yes,
But
Is it?
I
It's
I
like
look at my
soccer.
own medicine cabinet, and even though I am aware of what
And
likely
tennis
happen, I am in no
is
position
the
to
rich
protect
man's
myself
You
or
see
my
people in the
family.
hood
The
playing
only
tennis?
way to be protected from the
They don't
downstream is to just
That doesn't mean they can't
not take
afford it.
from it's a really huge problem,
You
and
know what they got in the hood?
the response
They got
of the
hoops.
system generally down the line trying to point out a serious problem is
Don't make me
yes, lived it.
cuz.
You never go back.
Oh yeah.
You've looked into the eye of something that is willing to ignore. I mean, it's willing to ignore human It's willing to ignore the
Maybe because I'm like,
Yeah, you know, maybe if you were
How
tall
could
like
you
me, like
leave an error
6'11",
like
you'd
that?
be really good.
Undescribed.
How is this being discussed on a fucking
I'm like 4 feet
comedian's
tall and everyone else
podcast?
is like.
Why is this not front page of the New York Times? Why is this not
Basketball because you
leading
couldn't
on the
actually
news when you're
get
talking
the
about the
ball
safety
from
of pharmaceutical drugs?
you know?
How is this not something
There's
that's
like-
an enormous story?
The guy has the ball,
Right,
I
go
can't
for
do
the
anything.
lead.
He's gotta like.
Fantastic job of describing
I
this.
remember my first time
The tail end of this podcast, and we're both
playing
trying
basketball. So I had just bought the first year of it.
You tackle it all out.
thing.
I did tackle. Like, okay, we go out for recess.
You asked Eric.
And there's like
Ready
basketball
to deploy.
courts,
Great.
basketball courts,
Eric
then there's a
indicated
soccer
that
field.
it's
Usually we either played
It's no
basketball,
party.
soccer, or
And
football. So we play basketball.
I was dogged about
We
this
go out
for a
there.
decade. I tried
I
everything
go to
I
play
could think of. I
basketball.
talked to every journalist who
And
would
this
listen.
dude,
As I said, I went to
we went
the
pretty decent, right? His name was
Committee on
Joel.
Drug Safety, the Blue Ribbon
He's like the best
Commission.
basketball player, right? And it's like,
Harold
okay,
Ryder
the guy guarding him just sucks.
refused
So
to
I'm like,
acknowledge
okay,
my
I'll guard this
contribution.
guy.
Got a Nobel
You're in the
Prize.
lead. Keep it up.
And he goes, he's like doing this thing where he's like trying to back into me or something. I don't know if you've ever experienced that. Where it's like you're trying to like, push him on. And so I just decide, okay, I'm not
Nobel
moving
Prize
another
would give us
inch.
the courage to look
And
at
right
it.
when I
They
decide
wouldn't
that,
publish it.
he
So I
decides
tried
to
it.
Striker, we're taking some fire.
And so I kind of
One guy named Mike Brown.
well,
Check.
I
He
think
used
it's a
to-
little
he was
nudge.
the former CFO.
He goes
Money.
flying. Flying guys in.
Striker, we are
Science camp
RTB.
gathering
Good
a
hunting,
bunch of
guys.
really high quality.
He starts to ball.
Privately, where nobody was
I
aware.
was like,
Yeah,
I have never seen
gave
them.
us the
You
room
know,
to be
like I
frank.
played hockey pretty much my
And
whole
I was
life.
there, and I
played
gave a
soccer when
talk
I was
on
younger.
Keeler's. I gave a talk about the
I've
science,
never
and
seen
I
a
talked
kid
about politics.
like just start crying like that. I've literally, you know, I've seen kids like break their arms and
Job
stuff, and
robbing
they're like,
stuff.
it hurts. I've never seen someone like sit
afterwards,
there like a baby,
Eric and Mike
you know,
took
like
me
on his
aside,
ass, like staring
and
down,
Enemy
just
white
crying.
phosphorus
said,
inbound.
you know,
I've never seen that. This
I
dude is
understand
crying.
why
The teacher has to come over and like get him and all
Enemy
this.
VTOL in the AO.
Okay, you okay? I'm like, what are you doing this? And he ran.
it's preventing you from doing what you need to do.
And
And I didn't like hearing
yeah,
that. And
I didn't get in trouble for
initially, I thought, no,
it
that's not.
you know, it was
And then
kind of
I think they were right.
he was trying to
And
like push people around.
so I let it
and,
go, and I
like,
started.
bump into
I
them.
really talked about it with my students.
I didn't
when
actually,
before I
like,
tried to
hit
teach
him.
the science as clearly
I
as
more
I
like
could and tried to
didn't
keep the
move
politics as
and
far
kinda,
away
like,
from it as
stood
I
in
could.
his way
And I, you know, it's
while
very
he
hard
was
to
like
do.
trying to like
But
go
I
around.
let it go. Now at that point,
And so it wasn't
I was
really my fault.
a
Nobody really blamed
obscure
me.
college professor at an obscure college.
I have confidence in it. It's fine.
Watch this thing.
So when I was playing soccer, everyone was But we played like no rules soccer, like whatever, you know, we're just flashing the ball around and stuff. I just really want to punch
for more than a decade.
Apparently that's a
was that
no-go.
It was like having a big hammer. And there's a
I think
bell.
soccer's so much of a bitch.
Running at the bell.
The guy's got the ball, and I'm kicking the ball, but I kick his leg a couple times.
Battery
It's like,
depleted.
you know, hold that against
to
me.
make it ring. Now,
You're
maybe,
not supposed to do
maybe
that.
at this higher profile,
I'm kicking
there's
it.
now enough firepower to get that bell to ring. But
Anyway, soccer.
Eric's podcast, which is probably
Sucks.
one of the best places if you want to know the
Also, you
scientific
can, but
story
with
to
double
go to, you
prox
can
mines.
listen to his.
I don't know how soccer is such a popular
You
sport.
can hear
Well, it
him.
must be because everyone's
You know, it's
they don't know anything else.
Exactly.
but I didn't. So
Exactly.
anyway, you
Like-
get the raw version.
You're gonna watch. How
It
long
is
is soccer?
possible
It's like 90 minutes.
are now going to get the bell to ring, but
You're gonna watch a 90-minute game, or maybe once or twice the entire
there's a
game.
flurry
Like
of
how the fuck does
activity
that happen?
outside of
How do
mainstream
you have a game
scientific circles.
where the
but
goals are?
it did
I don't
not
know,
cause
big fucking
anybody
soccer, 100 meters,
inside.
maybe bigger
And that
100
is the thing
meters.
I think we still don't know.
Where they
So
don't
unfortunately,
How does that happen?
the pharmaceutical has mice
Everyone's
who
playing like a
will
little
tell
bitch.
us that drugs that they are advancing into the market
The
are
players are
safe.
so
when
good,
they're
they can never get the ball into the net.
It's because it's the same
no
for
idea.
every
But I guess the
contact
question
sport.
is
There's nothing you
the
can
era
do,
different
really.
because we're at a
You
higher
know?
You can't get the
profile,
ball
or
from
isn't
them.
it?
They just pass it back and forth.
It seems like we
45
would need
minutes,
more
two
than just the
people.
scientific community.
Yeah.
We need someone
just
else
go
in
and, like,
media
play
to
some dude
press
out,
the scientific
you know?
community
Rugby,
and
then
say
we'd have rugby.
what's going on
Yeah.
here. To press the pharmaceutical industry and say, address this. Is this
can't
an
watch
issue
soccer.
or is this not an issue? Is he correct? If he is
Soccer
correct,
was boring. That's why I stopped.
what do we do about this? And what does this mean?
What do we do
I
about
also
this, and
played
how many
T-ball.
other thises are
I
there?
think
I happened on
soccer
this
when
completely.
you're not
by
at like.
I happened on this because
Like,
I
I'd go
was
play soccer,
a generalist who was
Nah,
interested
nah,
in
it's
interesting
boring.
things.
but like
and
I'd play
I was
no
interested
rules
in
soccer
evolution,
where we
and
tackle
this
each
just
other and shit.
happened to show up. And so, yeah, I pursued it. There were features of my character that caused me to pursue it
Like
when others would have let it go.
you know, call your
But
own out soccer.
it still indicates that there may be many such things lurking that we have
For
no
hockey,
awareness of.
by
And
far,
Never played
dude,
hockey.
soccer.
the fact that
Never played
systems are
hockey, I
so
never
good
played
at shutting down a
lacrosse.
story like this
I didn't play
means
football
that
either.
it would
Parents
be
wouldn't let me play football.
very unlikely
Yeah, my parents wouldn't let me play
that you
football
would have
either.
heard
I mean, I
that there was a
I
flaw
played
like
hockey
weird
and
that you played
lacrosse,
hockey.
So,
but they
I don't
didn't let
know.
me
I don't
play
know the answer to your
football.
question.
That
I
makes
do
no sense
think,
to me, but,
you know, your point
Well,
about
if you look at like the
the
injury
foundation
rates and
being
like
the
the
important
concussion
place
rates,
to dealing with
in
the,
hockey,
you know,
there's
the
they
rotten
don't have
structure
that
above is
problem.
not where this has
Football,
to
for
go.
some
It's got to
reason
go
they
to the
do.
bottom level.
Like all the
What we are
professional
finding
football
out
players get,
is that
I
in
don't remember what
system
it's
after
called, but they
system,
get brain
something
damage,
has gone
basically.
wrong.
CTE.
I think there are a small number of
CTE.
themes that explain why these systems go wrong.
Yeah, that's really common in
think
football, but
we
in
have
hockey,
taken
common at
the
all. People
magic
don't get-
of market
people don't
forces,
get
which
that.
really are magic for certain things, and
I
we
think it
have
has to do with
infused
like
them where
how
they do
people
harm
tackle
rather
each
than
other
good.
versus how you hit
In other
people
words,
in hockey.
in my
In general,
opinion,
you don't hit people head
markets
on in hockey.
are excellent
When-
at
when you
figuring
do,
out how to do
like, you
things,
pretty
and they are
much-
terrible at
The
deciding
guy
what
that
to
gets
do.
hit gets injured. But usually
Also-
you don't get hit head on. You get like you get angled off into the boards, and when you hit someone into the boards, it's like you're hitting maybe their shoulder pads, and then maybe their back and their shoulder pads are hitting the wall, and it's not so much the head.
Well, and the head is hitting the plexiglass that flexes too.
Well, usually
So
your
it's
head
a lot
doesn't
less
even hit
violent.
the plexiglass.
Right, I agree.
But in football, it's like my buddies who played football would always say like the coach would tell them to lead with their head. You know, yeah,
Free
I would
for all.
maybe
lead with your shoulder.
If
maybe
it
Ross
moves,
can-
kill it.
You lead with your head, but you aim. The point of leading with your head is to hit them with your shoulder. You
What the
have to
fuck?
understand.
But doesn't that lead to like helmet to helmet? It's like dangerous.
Football just leads to helmet in general. Because low man wins.
It used to be short.
Yep.
Anyway.
good running backs for short.
I play baseball.
Enemy
I
UAV
play
overhead.
soccer. I play basketball briefly. I play tennis. All
Carmina,
terrible sports except for tennis.
Carmina, I know that like back in the day, like the early 2000s, I would say that hockey helmets were better designed than football ones. I don't know if that's true today. I don't know if that was true 10 years ago. Maybe Ross can tell you. But
Motherfucker.
at least in the early 2000s,
They wanted to kill you.
From what I saw, the football helmets tend to be just foam padding on the inside, and the hockey helmets had actual design to them with like gel. They had like they had the foam still, but then on top of the foam layer was like gel cushions, and it was actually like designed. You could tell it was designed for that.
Motherfucker.
I don't know, Ross, how are your helmets? Was it mainly just like football or just foam cushioning on the inside, or were they like actual legit paddings?
You had well, it depends on the helmet. So some are foam filled, some are gel filled, and
You're a bitch.
most of the foam, I don't know about the gel ones, but like mine in particular was foam and with air injection. So you put the helmet on, and then each piece, you have like the earpiece, the top of the head piece, and then you have the forehead piece, the back of the head, and the base of the neck. And all of those were independently inflatable, and you would the equipment manager, your coach, or whoever would put that on you and pump them up until it had the right fit on there, until everything was solid.
Damn. Are you sure
Out
there?
of all my years playing hockey, I think I've only seen 2 injuries, like 1 concussion, and well, I guess both were concussions. And one of them, though, the guy.
Enemy UAV
I don't know if
overhead.
he blacked out. Yeah, I think he blacked out temporarily, and then he had like vision problems. Very briefly, he had vision problems while he was trying to get off the ice. Like he was stumbling, and he had balance problems. Other than that, it's usually a broken bone or a sprain. Those are much more common.
Oh, there you go.
This game. Oh hey Carmina, you figured out the all the stuff?
No, I defaulted it.
Oh, Ross defaulted it. Grit?
Less than a minute.
I don't know those bars.
Why? What happened to my thing? It's right there. He walked over it! He walked right over it! Oh,
they might be the same height.
Enemy precision airstrike. Take cover. 30 seconds. Time's up. Move your arms.
place.
I know, dude.
Stand down, it's a bedrock.
Even that one guy's the only guy that did good.
You won the last game, so now you have some sweat pocket.
That game plus this game makes 40 and 15. So I'm barely now 2 to 1. After a 30 and 4 game.
We have put them in charge of both jobs. So we are so in love with the magic of what they can accomplish that we don't realize that they,
Yo, you guys want to play some
science, for
Warzone?
example, is too delicate to allow market forces to govern it. If you let market forces govern it, it becomes like any other market, and it turns scientists into salesmen and things like that. We have to get good at figuring out where we can afford to use the market, where we have to insulate something from the market, and at the point we do that, we'll be in a much stronger position to protect ourselves. But until we do, we're just going to keep doing self-harm.
And on that note,
you know, Joe, I was really hoping that this would be funnier. I had a tight 10 minutes that I was going to dribble out over 3 hours, and we just didn't do it.
You brought up some awesome stuff. I mean, really, very, very important points across the board. Very brave points, too. And I always appreciate you, man.
Free for all. You're on your own, soldier.
Such a gay eagle in SKS. This is why it's unusable. Wait, are we playing again?
What?
Is Dave's playing?
I don't know. I don't know where he went.
Free for all. Let's see what you got.
Enemy UAV overhead. Enemy UAV overhead.
Ensign, is this you?
Maybe 10 years ago.
Yo, why are they going after CSGO like that, huh?
Uh-oh, I think Dave
I'm about to get
targeted.
defensive, man.
Who's going up for CSGO?
Shots fired. I feel attacked.
That's what I
No.
that's what I was saying, cuz.
You know what simp made this, man? Yikes. This graphic is
Enemy
big
UAV
cringe.
overhead.
This is more like Twitch audience. I wouldn't be surprised if this was literally who watches Twitch infographic or something. Whatever. What do you call these things?
Starter pack.
Starter pack. Yeah, this is like Twitch viewer starter pack. Because I've never seen anyone say any of these phrases except for people that I play WoW with that watch Twitch all day, every day.
I think I scoped up on that dude and literally put. What a retard camper.
UAV overhead.
I have another Asian guy teaching me math class, by the way. You wanna know what his name is?
Shen.
His last name isn't so special, but it is Asian. It's Park. But his first name is Moon Yu. Moon
Enemy precision airstrike.
Yu.
Take cover.
Moon Yu. That's his name. Hello, Professor Moon Yu. Professor Moon Yu. You want kimchi with that?
We're down but not out. Let's go.
I just looked there. I looked right there, out the window and turned around.
Enemy UAV overhead.
How did you know I was there? What is this game, bro? It's so stupid. SKS is just garbage.
What is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
Let's test out this Sharon! Sharon! Proper footy. Seems like it has a bigger sweet spot. That's the greatest sport on earth right there. Aussie rules football, also known as footy, AFL. My first time bombing in official shorts that are a little bit restricting. I think I lost a ball, to be honest. Might be a Lance Armstrong situation down here. It has a bigger sweet spot. Seems like it has a bigger sweet spot.
Charlie secure.
That's the greatest sport.
Secure Bravo.
Right there. Aussie rules football. Also
Enemy at the freight domination. Capture and defend the objectives. We must control the field. Enemy at Charlie, go!
That's a kill. Reloading.
Enemy at the office.
That was coming. I just whipped it.
Right behind you.
Securing Bravo.
Fire! Same side! I'm hit!
Losing Bravo. Enemy at the center. Lost Bravo. Securing Alpha. Need backup at Charlie.
Why am I dead?
We've got Alpha. We lost C. Enemy at the center. Enemy's taking Alpha. Securing Charlie. Securing B. Enemy counter. Captured Bravo. Enemy has Alpha. Enemy UAV overhead. He's out.
Knock it down.
Securing A. Enemy at the center. We captured Alpha. We're taking Charlie. Enemy at the cargo container. Enemy UAV overhead. 2 objectives. Take the third. We're on Charlie. Stand by.
Enemy at the cargo container.
We have taken control. Need backup at Alpha. All points are ours. Give them nothing. We lost Alpha. Enemy at the scaffold. At Charlie. Assist your team at sea.
Enemy at the scaffold.
Bravo. Lost C. Attack those positions. We're falling behind. We're on Charlie. Stand by.
Enemy at the cargo container.
Securing Charlie. We're taking Alpha. We have lost the lead. Securing C. Securing Alpha. Enemy UAV overhead.
Guys, we're getting triple cap, so unless you don't want to fucking win, just like, you know, maybe help.
Enemy personal radar overhead. Securing Charlie.
Enemy at the dumper.
On Alpha. Enemy counter UAV. Capture Charlie. We're holding Alpha.
Enemy at the cargo container.
Takes a third. Securing B. You're needed at A. Enemy has Alpha. We've got Bravo. Enemy's taking Bravo. Assist your team at sea. We're halfway there. Keep going. Allied UAV overhead. Control, custom. We have 2 objectives. I'm hit! You're needed at sea. Securing Alpha. Losing Bravo. All points are ours. Give them nothing. Enemy has Bravo. Enemy personal radar overhead. Allied cruise missile launched. Friendly Wilson on station. Enemy at Charlie, go! Need backup at Alpha. Securing Bravo. Need backup at Charlie. All points are ours. Lost Charlie. Cluster strike lost. You're needed at Bravo. Securing C. Securing C. Enemy has Bravo. Securing B. Enemy personal radar overhead. We captured Bravo.
Cargo container.
You're needed at B. Allied cluster strike incoming. Enemy has Bravo. We're taking Bravo.
Enemy at the cargo containers.
We're on Charlie. Stand by. Enemy personal radar overhead. 2 objectives lost. Move in. We're holding Charlie.
Enemy at the cargo containers.
You're needed at sea. Enemy's taking Charlie. They're taking 2. Enemy personal radar overhead. Send your team at Alpha. Cluster strike ready for launch. We've lost A.
Enemies here.
Securing Bravo.
One down.
Fuck off, bro.
Enemy at Charlie, go. On Bravo, stand by. We captured Bravo. We lost C. Securing Alpha.
Enemy at the cargo containers.
We're holding Alpha. Enemy UAV overhead. Enemy at Bravo, go.
Good shot.
Bravo.
I mean, let's do if we want to win, guys.
Enemy at the center.
Securing C. Keep hitting them. We have this. Securing B. Losing Alpha. We captured Bravo.
Enemy at the freight elevator.
Why are you there?
Securing C. Back up at Bravo. Enemies taking Alpha.
Reloading.
Objective complete.
Yo, GG.
GG's.
I was just trying to complete my camo.
You're good.
times.
Yeah, no, I heard you the 7th time, and I ignored it.
It's just a strong core.
Very
Okay,
SpongeBob-ish.
But hold on a second. How did it come out? Like, how did they...
The
Parents.
boy's mother ended up finding it.
Finding
haters.
it? What do you mean? It doesn't,
Haters.
Snapchat goes away, right? How they...
He probably saved it. You can screen record, take screenshots.
You gotta know that that's gonna happen. Some people do some crazy shit.
Yeah, it says teen's parent reportedly found the photos on his phone, which he saved from Snapchat. Also, mom, quit being a cockblock.
That's it. The furnace is definitely out. Stop!
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I know I forgave Henri and everything, but I'm still a little miffed at him.
I can't believe anybody would pull such a dirty trick just to get a girl.
So two complete
Apparently
strangers
Trump
break in and
called
tell us not to get married. Why
coronavirus the
should
kung
we
flu
care?
at the Tulsa rally.
What cookies?
Trump called coronavirus the kung flu
Mm-hmm.
at the rally. Pretty hilarious. Were you?
Till bitch Lord Soda Poppin is like, I've heard enough of this.
He's such a soy boy. He's like a low IQ soy
Trump
boy.
was literally telling, he told like 2 or 3 stories in a row about fake news. He was talking about how they thought he had Parkinson's, they thought he didn't have enough strength to drink a glass of water. They thought he was going through a couple things, and then he was comparing that to Biden and the way Biden does stuff. And Soda Poppin, and Potato and Kiltex too, but Soda Poppin was like, "What's he even talking about? What is he telling the story for?" Like he couldn't connect the dots that the story he was telling was a comedy skit based on his stupid situation he got into and how he was trying to not look stupid in front of the news. Like, it was all like F my life. Like, it was his whole thing.
Well, he's not like
Yeah.
like most streamers are not smart people.
And then he was talking about some contracts that he did for the military and for like aircraft and for Air Force One and fighter aircraft and for other stuff. And Soda Pop was like, "Man, he must really like the military." And it's like, are you new to politics? You don't know that that's a major military funding and allocations and then he goes on complaining about the military industrial complex and how they're like a leech on money and all this sort of stuff, and how he tries to play hardball. And Soda Poppin, as well as the liberals in TeamSpeak, they just couldn't understand. They didn't even understand why he was talking about it, much less what it means that those actions that he was taking. But he didn't get a reaction with chat. He just quit. He just left the stream. I looked for the direct stream. I didn't find it. It was one of you guys that told me to go to Soda Poppin. I looked for Donald Trump's Twitch stream and it wasn't up. Yeah, he is on there. Well, I was on my I didn't type in it manually. I just typed it in manually and the VOD is there. But when I was on like the my followed channels list, I was looking for Donald Trump and it wasn't up. Yeah, apparently. What is this?
Just some Asian chicks, no? I know Carmino likes those Asian chicks because he gives them money.